Hey, welcome back to Five Lakes Garage, and today we're actually going to answer some questions from a previous video. Now, I just want to let you know, I do look at every single comment that's out there, and if it's not derogatory, I want to keep it up there, no matter how bad it is on criticizing what I'm doing. I do encourage any of those. If I'm doing something wrong, please let me know. Put it in the comments. Other people would like to know. One of them, somebody got a little concerned that when I did the kid's bike crank replacement, I didn't go into enough detail about taking the crank off. So we're going to address that. So what I have here is something that is over 40 years old. This is the bicycle. This was my first bicycle that I ever got that was not with training wheels. And yes, I still have it. Why? I don't know. I'm not going to ride it again. Sorry. But I was trying to put together one of the old like little kids bikes. I think it's like a 12-inch or something like that, and out of some of the parts that I had laying over in the corner, well, then I figured out, I was like, wait a minute, I got this one up there, let's go take a look at it. And it's actually run into the same problem that we had with the other one, where it is binding up. So we're going to take a closer look at how to take this crank off and figure out exactly what is wrong with it. Now, one thing I did notice about this thing already off the bat, it is dirty. It has been sitting up in the rafters for years. So I'm just going to take the air gun, just kind of blow it off a little bit, just so it's not so disgustingly dirty when we actually take it apart. And then we're going to take the pedals off, take the crank out, look at the bearings, and just so you'll know how to take it off the right way, or my way. Well, hopefully they match. Close enough. If not, let me know. All right, here we go. Here's the crank. Now we need to get the pedals off. Now, you don't really need to get this one off, but you do need to get that one off. But keep in mind, this one right here, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That one right there is lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. So make sure you put it in the right direction. And try to do it backwards. There we go. Alright, take both pedals off. You don't need to, only need that one off. But I took this one off because it kept hitting me in the gut. And I got a little bit of padding there. I don't want it to get beat up. Now, as far as looking at why it's binding, my chain is extremely tight, and it's all rusty. So that could be where my binding is, but we're still going to take the bearings off just to make sure. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually take the chain off completely, and so we can get to the sprocket and we don't have anything binding up. So we need to loosen the rear tire, push it forward so we can get the chain off. Let's do that. Oh yeah, and by the way, when you're working with old bicycles, especially one this old, this one was built in America, you know, back in the day, 80s. Yeah, go ahead and put your metric tools back in your toolbox and grab your SAE. This is a 9/16. So anyway, I'm gonna grab my, looks like a 5/8 and take the rear tire off. All right, so it's not 5/8, it's 11/16. Yeah, go figure. Now you would actually put a wrench on the other side, but you shouldn't really need to. All right, so we don't need to take these nuts off all the way. You can if you like, because I'm just gonna drape it out. There you go. Now you have to take this little guy off. This would be for the brake. I'm just gonna let it hang because I don't need to. All right, maybe when we put it back together, we'll lube up the chain to make sure that it is, just to show you how to do it, because that is nasty, but it has been sitting up in the rafters for a really long time. Now, you can feel a little bit of play, so these bearings are not loaded the way they should be. So they're probably wore out. Like I said, this thing is old. All right, that's roughly 1 1/8. There you go. So I just tightened it up a little bit. Instead of taking it off, I just tightened it up to where the bearings are actually going there. Now I can feel a lot of grit and dirt in these bearings. So definitely will not be reusing these if I was gonna put this bike back in service. But if you go back and forth, you can feel it. It's like, da, 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 da. Okay, that's a lot of grit in there. You might want to replace the bearings. But let's go ahead and take this thing off. There you go. So you got your nut. And remember that most of the time these are reverse thread, because you don't want it to fall off when you're actually going down the road. So you also have another retainer right here in the right behind that. And that's actually going to set your load on your bearings. So this is the nut that you put on your preload. which if I can get it off, I'll show you. All right, so there's your little guy. It has, there is a special tool, or you can just use a screwdriver. It has little slaps. All right, so now I should be able to take this crank right out. Go ahead and take your bearing out so it looks just like the other one. So you have a carrier with all the bearings on there. There we go. All right, so we have 2 bearings, and that is crusty. I wonder if I can just clean that up. All right, now let's go ahead and get up close and personal to this nasty relic. So this right here, this little groove, that will be your race. The bearing will actually ride right there on that seal. There's one on the other side as well. When you do your preload, basically what you're doing is squeezing the 2 bearings on the races. And it doesn't need to be a lot, but it does need to be a little bit of preload, or else your bearings kind of wear out prematurely. Now this one right here is just nasty and dirty. We're gonna clean it up. And once we actually clean it up, we're gonna go ahead and clean your crank up and make sure that all of the bearings surfaces are all nice and clean. No dirt, no grime, no metal, no whatever. And then we're gonna make it okay new again, sort of, but with the same old bearings, because I'm not gonna put any money in this old bike. Anyway, I'm gonna get some brake clean and probably a toothbrush, get these things clean. Let's go. All right, got everything clean. Brake clean is your friend. Now, I was putting it straight on my hands. Probably not the best thing. They're gonna peel here eventually because this stuff is very corrosive, but it does loosen off 40 years of grit, grime, and whatever, because I have never maintained this bike, because at the time, hey, I was a kid. I didn't know anything. Anyway, so what we're gonna do now is go ahead and put everything back together. Now, ideally, if I was going to put this bike back into service for some little kid to actually ride, I would actually replace all these bearings, because they are just that nasty. No matter how much scrubbing you're gonna do, you can get the outside, but you can't really get the inside of these little bearings. So we're just gonna reuse them because, you know, I'm not really putting this thing back into service. But if you're gonna do it, get new stuff. It's a lot easier. So anyway, take a look at what we did. You saw me use brake clean. Also have some of these on some die grinders, just a little wire brushes. Always wear your spectacles when you're doing this, because it does fly out and you could go blind. You go blind, you can't watch my videos, and I would be sad. I'll be sad for you for losing your sight, but you know, sad in general because you can't watch the videos. All right, so this right here, if you can see right around there, this whole thing can pop off and you can put in a new race. If I was gonna do new races, that's what you would use. It is still a little bit dirty and gritty on the inside, but hey, it's just the way it's gonna be. So anyway, same thing on this side. You can see all of the wear marks out here on the race, but yeah, ideally pop those out, just hit them from the other side, they pop out, put new ones in, good to go. All right, so I went ahead and cleaned off the crank. Also, this is where the, whoops, I guess I didn't clean off that one very well. Now, if you need to replace the sprocket here, once you get your crank all the way off, there is another nut right here, and this one should go regular, so righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And to be able to pull this off in order to get your sprocket out, you put a new sprocket in, boom, good to go. But, yeah, so just pull that off. It comes all the way out the other side. So yeah, even if you're gonna change the sprocket, all this has gotta come out. It's all right, so let's get our bearing and put some grease on it and then put it on the bike. Get my grease. All right, here's the grease. It's a Park Tool and got this from the bike shop and it works great. If you get it on your hands, it's hard to get off because it works that well. Because the grease that wipes right off, it's not very good grease. So just like packing a regular car bearing, you want to make sure it's on everywhere. So usually you can put it in your palm of your hand, kind of. In this case, I'm just going to rub it on. All right, nice and lubed. So put it on your sprocket, just like this, and then when you put it in, always have a rag handy, because this is going to get greasy. All right, so now you need to do your other side. Now make sure that you have all your bearings in there. See, I'm missing one because it kept falling out, so I took it out. There it is. Now, one thing about this grease, don't be shy with it. The more grease you got, the longer it will be before your next service. Oh, I dropped it again. All right, so once you get your bearing in there, get it nice in there. Now we're gonna need to keep that nice and straight. that's where this guy comes in. As you can see, it's tapered all the way around. Also has little grippy things on the side for your fingers, and also slots for your screwdriver in order to put it in there. Now just remember, this is backwards thread. I'm going to go to the left for lefty tighten. Alright, so basically you just want to tighten this up to where there is zero play. Back and forth, side to side. Feels alright. Just not, those bearings are pretty useless. Alright, there you go. So most of the time you can set the preload with your fingers. You can use the screwdriver if you like, but go for whatever feels good for you. Shake it back and forth, make sure zero play. Now there is a small resistance as it goes around. As you wear in the bearings again, it will actually go through and loosen up. Now you want to put your washer on, and what that's going to do is kind of seal it off a little bit so you don't get too much crud in there. Make sure you put enough lube on it to make it pretty. Alright, then you want to put your nut. Now take a look at the nut. See where it's flat on one side, tapered on the other? Flat side goes towards the washer. And once again, this is the same deal, so it's backwards. Alright, I'm going to take my 1 1/8. Alright, let's get our chain on. Now make sure your tire is straight, or else it will rub. Alright, now when you put your pedals back on, most of the time they'll say right, they'll say left, or just keep it aside, because if you start screwing this in and if it doesn't get on there, that means it's for the other side. This one works fine, because remember, one's one way, one's the other way. Alright, we got everything put back together. Everything is nice and lubed, except for that chain. Let's go ahead and take care of the chain right now. And also, one thing I just noticed, my frame is bent. She is not straight anymore. But, you know, it's going all of those sweet jumps as a kid. So anyway, let's clean the chain up first. Just grab yourself a rag, grab yourself some brake clean, or whatever, and we're going to go ahead and clean the chain before we actually lubricate it. Alright, in order to do that, just grab your brake clean, grab yourself a rag, soak it down, put it on your chain. So you get a bunch of dirt or whatever, we're going to have to lubricate this before we actually really clean it, because it is just that bad. Alright, go ahead and get yourself some good quality chain lube. There is a specific type to where it will go on wet, but it'll dry, so that it'll keep it lubricated, but yet it doesn't stick to all the dirt that you have going when you're on the trails. I've seen people use WD-40. It does work, but it does attract a lot of dirt. Alright, once you get it soaked in there nice and liberally, especially on this one, because this has been jacked up for so long, I'm gonna use up all my stuff. Alright, we don't want to ride it like this. One, we need to break it in. The other one, just take a rag, put it on the chain. Alright, my chain is a little bit loose. I can actually pull the tire back a little bit to tighten that up, make sure it's straight. But that is so much better. I can actually ride this thing now. But yeah, except for the chain, I gotta tighten it up. Alright, hopefully that clarifies a few things on what I missed on the last video. I do apologize for that, but thank you for all the comments. We are still trying here at Five Lakes Garage. If you want to look at some other stuff, we do have a sister channel now, which is called Five Lakes ODL for outdoor living. So if I was going to take this out on the trail and record it, that's where you'll find it. The link will be down below. Go ahead and let me know if there's anything I missed. Hopefully that explains a little bit more about how to revive an old bicycle. Again, I would actually replace the bearings and the races on this thing because it is over 40 years old, and those are all original. But that is so much better than what it was when we first started. It's amazing what a little bit of cleaning and a little bit of lubricant will do for you. So anyway, keep the comments coming, and we will try to rectify, yeah, it's my word, all the issues that we currently had in the past. I think we're a little bit better now, but let me know. Anyway, take it easy, have fun, and keep riding. Now, if I had a front tire for this, I'll actually well, maybe I could ride a wheelie all the way down the street. No, I'm not that good. Anyway, catch you later. Ah!
I got a bike.